Hey, welcome to the Empowered and Free podcast. My name is Erin Kimbrell, and I'm a counselor, certified life coach, breathwork coach, and small town mom of two. I know firsthand what it feels like to live with high functioning anxiety. For most of my life, I had so much mental mess, anxiety, people pleasing, perfectionism, overthinking, constant worrying, and never feeling good enough. On my decade-long journey to feeling better, I've learned how to take back my life from high-functioning anxiety and helped others to do the same through my coaching and breathwork programs. Now I want to share everything I know with you. This podcast will help you feel empowered over your high-functioning anxiety and free to finally live the life of your dreams. Now, grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and dive into the episode. I'm Erin Kimbrell, and this is the Empowered and Free podcast. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. All right, today we are talking about why anxiety is lying to you. This is something that keeps me up at night, literally. I wrote this episode at midnight. I'm a huge night owl. I don't know about you, but I love to stay up super late. And right now I am living my best summer life. So I can stay up until whenever I want. And then, it just might bite me the next day, but that's okay. So when I was thinking about this literally at midnight, I was thinking about how so many people, probably you listening, have anxious thoughts and you literally believe them. You listen to them. And I was in the same boat. Again, this is not the blame, shame, name game. I totally get what it's like to feel that same way. But I want you to know that there's another option. And the anxious thoughts that you're hearing in your head are not actually true. So we're going to talk about that today, why anxiety is lying to you and why it is the biggest mistake to just believe every thought that comes in your head. Let's get into the first part here. Anxiety tells us that the worst case scenario is going to happen. The worst thing possibly in the world that could happen will happen to you, right? I'm sure you have been there and thought the same thing. Anxiety even creates stories of things that will not happen. In most cases, they'll never happen. But anxiety makes us believe that those things will happen. So again, let's talk about some actual practical examples. I have worked with people of all ages. I can think about little kids who believe that, their parent is never going to see them again if they're separated from their parent, or they believe that there's the boogeyman in the closet that's going to get them, right? Like legitimately, they believe those things. All the way up to like 60, 70, 80-year-old people that are riddled with anxiety because they're just constantly watching the news, taking in all that fear-mongering information, believing that the worst thing is going to happen, that the world is going to end, that they're going to lose everything, right? Like the worst possible thing that can happen. So those are two separate ends of the spectrum. What about the people that fall mostly in the middle? What about my moms who are in their 30s who think that something bad is going to happen to their kids, something bad is going to happen to them, their health is going to go downhill, right? Like we are just believing these things, and these worries are the things that keep us up at night. And they're also things that really take us out of the moment in our day, throughout our day. I remember, especially when my kids were little and I was just, again, riddled with anxiety all the time. That was what consumed a lot of my day, even though I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't realize that I could be physically in a moment with my kids, but not mentally present, thinking about, again, all the things that could possibly go wrong. Here is an example that was my reality for a long time. I had a lot of anxiety about when my kids were around water, especially when they were little. I've talked about this a few times on the podcast before. And I had a ton of intrusive thoughts when my kids were around water. And one of the biggest ones is my dad has a boat. And so pretty much my kids' whole entire lives, we've been going out on the lake, getting on the boat, riding on the boat. One of my biggest fears and intrusive thoughts that I had literally every time we were out on the boat was my kids are going to fall into the water. What am I going to do? How am I going to rescue them? Like I'm an okay swimmer, but and here I am in my head, like thinking about all of these things that could possibly happen. And it took me out of that moment with my family. Like I could not enjoy that time with my family because I really couldn't relax. I was thinking about all the bad things that were going to happen. I talk to moms all the time who have a plan for when they're driving down the road across this bridge and then the bridge breaks and the car goes over the edge. And again, lots of intrusive thoughts we're talking about here. And if you don't know, intrusive thoughts are thoughts that come in that just seem to pop out of nowhere that really can be scary and oftentimes are your worst fears or seem to be really traumatic. And these thoughts are completely unwanted. You don't want to have these thoughts. Again, they seem to pop out of nowhere, but all of a sudden you realize that you're down this rabbit hole of this intrusive thought, this anxious thought, and you're believing that whatever is going on in your head is actually happening in reality. You're feeling all of that anxiety as if that's actually happening. So what you get to do is snap out of that moment, is notice that that's just an anxious thought. And that anxious thought is actually lying to you because that thing that you're thinking in your head is not really happening right now. Now, I'm not saying that you will never have an anxious thought again, that you will never have an intrusive thought again. But what I want you to understand is that when you do this work, you finally feel free from your anxiety. What happens is you notice that the thought comes in and then you go, oh, wow, anxious thought. Okay, whoop, put it in junk mail, just like that email that comes in that says you've won $1 million. And you're like, okay, how did this get through my filter? Like put it straight into junk mail or spam mail. That's what you do with that thought. You know that that's a junk mail thought and you just let it go. You don't believe it. You don't feel all the feelings of anxiety because you haven't hooked onto that thought. Like this is what I want to teach everyone because anxiety is just lying to you. So that's the first way anxiety is lying to you, having all of these anxious thoughts, worst case scenarios that will actually never happen. Another way anxiety is lying to you is it is really holding you back from living the life you want to live. Here's what I mean by that. When you have a lot of anxious thoughts in your head telling you that everything is going to go wrong, that you're going to mess up, that you're going to feel embarrassed, that you're going to fall flat on your face, and you're going to be the biggest failure of all mankind, you don't do the things that you want to do. So anxiety holds you back from living that life that you want to live. You're scared to take a risk. You're scared to try something new. You're scared to go for the thing that you actually feel deep down inside of you is the path for your life, but you're terrified to try it. And again, you guys know I'm speaking from personal experience. Even now, as I am talking on this podcast, don't think I don't have thoughts coming in saying, who cares what you're talking about? Nobody's going to listen to this. People are probably making fun of you, thinking you're some expert in this field. Like maybe they're making fun of your voice. They're making fun of what you talk about. I don't know. All of these kind of thoughts still cross my mind from time to time. It's my job to notice, oh, wow, junk mail thought. Like that is not true. That is just an anxious thought. And let me remind you that the brain is not the enemy here. I'm not here like beating my anxious brain up thinking like, oh, this really sucks. Why do I have this brain that tells me all these things that aren't true? Why am I living with anxiety? Like, no, I go, wow, my brain is trying to protect me. My brain is trying to keep me safe. We talked all about this in episode 14. If you missed it, what anxiety really is and why anxiety happens. Anxiety is just our internal alarm, right? It is a messenger and it is that protection that we have. Oh, I'm not here to like beat myself up or beat my brain up or wish that I wasn't this way. Now I can learn to work with these things. I can hear the anxious thought and still be here recording the podcast because I know that this is important. I know this is my passion. I know this is a way that I can support others with this same exact thing. So when those thoughts come in that says, what if I mess up? What if I feel embarrassed? What if I fail completely? I go, okay. And what if I do? I will pick myself up like I've always done and keep moving forward. This is when you know that you have your power back. When I say feeling free from anxiety, that's what I mean. It doesn't mean that anxiety will never, ever be present again, that you will never have that anxious thought coming in and lying to you, that intrusive thought, whatever it is. No, instead it means you notice it and you just let it go. You don't let it have the power anymore. What you learn from this is that thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are just thoughts. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day. I joke that I probably have like 10 times as many because my brain doesn't stop. I don't know about you, but it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes all the time. Sometimes I ask my husband, like, what are you thinking? Because he looks like pensive, like he's thinking about something. And he's like, nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean nothing? What do you mean? Thing. Is that possible? Your brain just turns off for a second. And that's also why I got really hooked on breath work and love breath work so much, because breath work is the only time that my mind feels quiet. And that's what I hear all the time from you guys, especially those who try breath work for the first time or maybe have taken a break and get back into it. You're like, oh yeah, this is why I love this so much, because my brain is quiet for a minute. On the regular, my brain is not quiet. My brain is going, 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 going. She is a busy girl, okay? So when the thought comes in, you know that the thought is not true. That anxious thought is not true. One visual that I give my clients inside of Empowered and Free from Anxiety, which is my program that helps you feel free from anxiety. One visual I give them is that thoughts come and go just like clouds in the sky. So imagine now that you're looking out into the sky, just like I am, because I'm sitting right by my beautiful bedroom window, looking out onto our pond, and the sun is out and the clouds are in the sky, and it is a beautiful day. So just imagine that that is what you're looking at now. You're looking at the clouds in the sky, and you look up and you notice a cloud, and you say, okay, look at that cloud, right? And then you look to the left a little bit, and there's another cloud. And there's another cloud. We're just going to imagine that each of those clouds are your thoughts. And so what we're not going to do is we're not going to hook on to one of those clouds. We're not going to just stare at that cloud and like watch it travel all the way across the sky. No, we just look up and we notice, oh, look, there's a cloud, there's a cloud, there's a cloud. So how this applies to you and with your anxious thoughts is you have an anxious thought come in. I have the thought come in that nobody wants to listen to this podcast because it sucks and everyone hates it, right? I have that thought come in and I go, oh, like, should I actually like not record anymore? And then I go, wait, no, that's just a thought. So I notice the thought and I just let it pass right on through without believing it, without hooking onto it, without feeling all of the emotions, without letting it change my actions. That is key. This is one of the very first things that we work on inside of Empowered and Free from Anxiety, because it is the beginning of everything. So many of us that struggle with anxious thoughts don't even realize that this is an option, because the thought comes in and we just believe the thought. We don't even take a second to question the thought, to think, hey, maybe that's not true. And the reality is it's not true. So I encourage you to start choosing your thoughts like you choose your clothes. Let's say you go in your closet for the day and you put on an outfit and you're just like, ugh, I am not feeling this. This color is not it. This fit is not working for me today. This is not flattering. I feel like garbage in this outfit. Okay. Are you going to then put that outfit on and wear it to work and keep it on throughout your day and just like feel like garbage all day? Are you going to do that? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not doing that. Number one, my first priority is comfort. Comfort always. And like we are not going back to underwire in our bras. Post-pandemic is not a thing for me. Okay. So comfort always. But number two for me, priority is, does it look good on me? Like, do I feel good in this outfit? I have done a lot of work to love my body exactly as it is. And I'm not going to put on something that makes me feel awful. So our thoughts are the exact same way. If a thought comes in, all of a sudden I feel awful. I feel like garbage. I feel anxious, whatever it is. I'm just going to say, oh, wait, not taking this on for today. And I'm going to literally let that thought pass and choose a different thought, put on a different outfit, one that actually feels good, one that is believable. I know I'm making this sound really simple, but I am not kidding when I say that this could absolutely be your reality. Even if you've been living 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years of life feeling anxious, it does not have to be your reality every single day. The brain is so capable of changing. It is crazy, but we can absolutely change our thoughts. And I know that anxiety goes so much deeper than this. This is why I created my 4-month program, Empowered and Free from Anxiety, to go into the deep. We start with these things about changing your thoughts and how to do that, how to pivot the thought. I teach my clients my pivot and relief method to do exactly that, to do what we're talking about here, but on a much deeper timeline that is personalized to you. We learn the right tools to use for anxiety. You create your own anxiety toolbox of tools that actually feel really good to you and help you. And then we move into the deep stuff and the root of why your anxiety is there so that you can heal it. Okay, this is like everything you need to know is inside of Empowered and Free from Anxiety. And this is why I created this program, because I don't want you to live life feeling anxious all the time anymore. There is so many different options available to you. And you can be living in alignment with what actually lights you up inside, with what feels really good to you, the thing that you're scared to admit to anybody that you want to do because that fear and that anxiety is so loud in your head. It can actually be a quiet little whisper. And you can be just like me, sitting here behind this mic, empowering through everything you've wanted to do. That can be a reality too, friends. All right. If you have any questions about Empowered and Free, send me a message. I'm happy to support you. Right now, enrollment is not open, but I'm happy to help you figure out if it is the right fit for you. And I have something very special coming soon, something that is newly created that might help you if you're kind of in this in-between process of thinking like, maybe Empowered and Free is for me, but I'm not quite sure. You want to learn, like, how do I teach? Like, how does Erin teach? And do I actually like her? Do I want to listen to her? Do I think she's legit and maybe knows what she's talking about? If you're in that in-between spot, just keep your eyes peeled for something coming out very soon in the next few weeks. I'm super excited to support you. All right, friends, thanks for being here. I hope today was helpful in why anxiety is lying to you, why you don't have to believe those worst case scenarios, and how it's holding you back in your life. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. You don't know how much it means to me. If you'd like more behind the scenes content, inspiration, and daily reminders that encourage and uplift you, follow me on Instagram at HeyErinKimbrel and send me a DM to say hey. If any of the episodes have been super helpful for you, please consider leaving me a review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen. It helps me so incredibly much, and it allows the podcast to be seen by other people who need it. If you want to learn more from me, head to erinkimbrel.com. That's where you'll find all my free resources, read the podcast show notes, and learn more information about my online coaching and breathwork programs that help you create the life you want. If you want to keep the conversation going from today's episode, join us in our exclusive podcast Facebook community, Empowered and Free, Help for High Functioning Anxiety. I'm here for you, and I'm always cheering you on. I'll see you next time. I'm Erin Kimbrel, and this is the Empowered and Free podcast.